everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lifting. Today's episode is being recorded on 8/4/24. We have a very special episode here for you today with Clinton Diong. Is that how you pronounce your name, Diong?
Yes.
Of the Fruit of Knowledge, psychedelic research and sales. This is a great theme to go with today. Before we go into any further, we need to open the circle properly. So, Joanna?
Yes, and first of all, I'd like to say we were lucky enough to meet Clinton in April. I hope she doesn't mind me mentioning her name when we were
Not
at
at
the
all.
conference, and we hit it off, and we just wanted to show such mutual support to one another. And since we're both all about doing our best to help people understand, to heal, to grow, what are the things that are out there that can help you, the tools that everyone knows that we try to promote, but also very interesting things that Clinton's going to be sharing with us today. And so I hope you guys will find this a very, very interesting discussion, and then hope you will check out his stuff. So with that, let me do the law of one. We are all one. And when one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, that only the highest good be done. We pray for you, your friends, your family, your loved ones, to let healing energies in. Let them love you, let them nourish you, and let them bring you to your highest good. We pray for ourselves, our friends, our family, our loved ones, to also let healing energies in, to let them love us and nourish us and bring us to your highest good. We ask for benevolence to come in now with no conflicting agendas, to come in to support this conversation and to lend guidance and understanding when needed. We ask them to come in and support the listeners who listen to this conversation so they can hear this conversation totally without confusion and with understanding, so they may process it to see if there are things here for their highest good. We ask for benevolence to come in and to sweep out any mischievous or malevolent type beings that wish to disrupt this conversation. And with that, and with the great blessings that we send your way, we say, so be it.
So be it. So this is a very this is going to be an excellent program, folks. Like Joanna said, we met at the conference. We hit it off right away. We're all about building community here on the lifting. So are they. So I'm just going to let Clinton. I'm going to let you take it from here. Take it away.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Clinton Diong. I am the CEO and president of the Fruit of Knowledge, which is the uniting of everything that has to do with psychedelics. All the knowledge, all the connections, all the businesses, all the events, everything in one place to help give people as much information and connection with each other so that we can actually move forward with proper treatment for people who actually need it or want it. It's basically uniting the entire psychedelic world. There's a psychedelic directory, psychedelic map, basically everything we can think of to actually put in there that would be actually helpful. And it is also a social media, because one of the biggest things that we noticed is that on all the other social medias that are out there, even if you mention the word psychedelic, they immediately want to shut you down, shun you, demonetize, all those kind of things. So we wanted to create something that we could bring all the people in who actually want to do good work and help people. And this is what we're creating.
Yeah, that's excellent. And that doesn't surprise me that the government's doing that. Anything that would help, they shadow ban it. Anything that would get them to even, expand yourself, deal with your own inner junk, see other dimensions, other spaces. They don't want anything of that. They don't want anybody seeing what they're doing, anything of that, anything that needs about to be corrected about
That's
the
coming
self.
along a big way. Even the United States government, the federal government, passed a law this last year, or at the beginning of the year, the Mike Day's psychedelic treatment law. I'm butchering the name of it a little bit, but it allows active duty military and veterans to receive psychedelic treatment for their PTSD, mental illness, major depression. So we're moving in the right direction. Like Oregon and Colorado went legal for medical treatment and decriminalized the possession of psychedelics. And now we're just trying to move forward. Like here in my home state of Nevada, the the legislation, the governor and the senators here, they actually voted in for making the psychedelic medicines working group. So they're researching the proper way to actually move forward for our community here. Plus, they also know that it's going to influence the greater community of all the rest of the states here in the United States. That how do we move forward that to give the best treatment? How do we keep enough control so that we can actually make sure people aren't abusing it? Because there, believe it or not, are ways to abuse psychedelics. And also, you know how the government is. They want their pound of flesh. They want to know if they need to, they can be in control. They need taxes, those kind of things. I understand that. But I want to make sure that as we move forward, that they give enough freedom to the people so that they can experience it and move forward. So we're slowly starting to move in the right direction.
And that's good. And so, can you backtrack just a little bit to help the people understand? Because I think most people, and many of the ones that listen to us, are just thinking people doing it to do a trip, just to go out there. Their consciousness goes out there, they come back. But what you're talking about, and really why we wanted to bring this conversation up, is it's so much more than that. And there really are potential health and spiritual benefits to this. So can you kind of backtrack a little and kind of give what people normally think, an average person normally thinks about the DMT and what it's all about, and the tripping, let's say, that people have been doing with it, versus what is the use that you feel that can be out there for people's physical and spiritual growth benefits?
Well, that's actually a huge multi-layer question right there, because psychedelics can be used in multiple different ways to help. You have your macrodosing, your microdosing, and then you have your various different chemical compounds and alkaloids that go along with the natural living psychedelic itself. Like if you go with psilocybin or psychedelic mushrooms, you have psilocybin, you have psilocin, you have all the other chemical compounds that are in there. And they also change various on the depending on what strain and species that you're utilizing. And also how they're grown, how they're stored. You have a lot of different variables that you want to make sure you are looking into and tracking and getting the knowledge for the specific medicine that you want to take. So if you're wanting to do psychedelics to actually heal, there's a lot of different studies, and there's no process of one size fits all. Each person with their individual experiences and their body's chemistry is going to make all the difference. Plus, what's your lifestyle like? What kind of nutrients do you take? Are you a healthy eater? Are you physically fit? Are you mentally unstable, or are you mentally stable? And quite honestly, I haven't really met too many people who are truly mentally stable. But you don't want to just jump into psychedelics willy-nilly. A lot of the community that doesn't know anything about psychedelics just thinks it's another drug, that people are just using it and abusing it to get high, that it's nothing special about it. And it might, some cultures might think it is the devil's fruit or stuff like that. That's not the case at all. What we truly believe about psychedelics is that it's a tool of extreme power, don't get me wrong, but it's something that will elevate yourself or reconnect you with yourself and nature, your community, everything. It helps reunite you. And that's the way you want to approach it. Now, when I said earlier that there are ways to abuse it, is when you don't do your due diligence and do the research to actually see what your compound is. Are you taking psilocybin? Are you taking DMT? Are you doing ayahuasca? Are you doing acid? Are you doing peyote or those different kind of compounds? What are you trying to do? What is it going to be helping you? Are you doing depression? Are you doing PTSD work because of your past traumas? You have to take all those things in account, not just, I'm really fucked up and I've lost at my wits' end and I'm just going to take this because people said that it's good. That's not how you want to do it. Now, the greater community thinks that you're just getting high. It's not true to a point because you are going to be changing your different chemical compounds and your brainwaves. If you're just taking psychedelics to the point where you want to escape from your current reality, that's escapism, and that's the wrong way to do it. It's still going to have some benefit. The psychedelics are going to show, but you're also taking risks where if you haven't learned how to properly do it, you haven't slowly stepped up to see what your tolerance is, how it's going to experience with that specific compound, and you haven't actually taken the different risk factors into consideration, like, okay, am I doing it in public? Am I doing it by myself? Does anyone know what I'm doing? Should I actually have a trip sitter? Those kind of things. You want to make sure that you're doing. Am I on any other kind of medication that could have any cross interaction and adverse effects, like SSRIs? They can heighten the effect negatively. So those are the things. Are you drinking heavily? Are you taking other illegal drugs, cocaine, meth, all those things? You want to make sure that if you're doing it for healing, first, let's work on getting everything set up for you. You learn, you study, you get ready to practice. Then you actually get help to actually move forward. So you can start learning the different directions of where it's going to take you, how your experience is going to be at that certain amount of level. Don't ever just take a bunch of mushrooms and basically, I heard this in a movie, thinking like you can box and jump in the ring with Ali and get the knocked the fuck out kind of thing. You don't want to do that kind of thing. It lowers the safety for you and for the people around you, just in case. You hear a lot of these horror stories of people taking a lot of psychedelics and they're running in the road or you're doing this. It's because they're doing it in a fashion of they're already mentally unwell, but they haven't taken the authority for themselves to actually, or responsibility to actually do it right, and acknowledging that they want to heal and seek out help to do so in these manners, not studying, not doing all the preemptive work. So there are a lot of things you want to look into doing stuff. And do note, psychedelics will not save you. They will not save you. A lot of these new age psychedelic users are saying psychedelics are the be all to end all. That is not true. And this is coming from an individual who I knew nothing about. I was trying to use psychedelics to save myself, and I did everything wrong in the book. So basically, I'm letting you know from experience. So yeah, there's a lot to it, but the healing potential that can help you bring you back or experience life again is exponentially greater than without them, in my opinion, because I was someone who had extreme PTSD. I'm a United States Marine Corps, 100% disabled combat veteran. I've been in a lot of situations where are not pleasant. I've tried to commit suicide multiple times. I've been in and out of jail after the military, homeless, I think like 7 times. And basically almost lost my life because my mental instability at that time, which I was not acknowledging, not really. So it basically was still my fault for, even though we were going through a lot of things, the first step is take responsibility. And I almost killed my stepdaughter while trying to stop an attacker who was already attacking me, her ex-husband, at my own home. That's the whole story that was actually published to show people the different areas. And on those, I was never on psychedelics. That was medical induced bipolar schizophrenia on different chemical compounds and drugs that I received from the VA hospital, and being addicted to other drugs like cocaine and everything at the same time. So, which stopped me from actually taking psychedelics. And it wasn't until afterwards I got the proper help and the treatment from the court systems and knowing what I actually need to do to start healing that I was properly using psychedelics, nutrition, therapy, all those different other outsourced portions to actually put it into one program to move forward to get healed. Now I don't have any PTSD, no bipolar, no schizophrenia, no multiple personality disorder, and it was in due to the help of psychedelics used properly, but because I made sure I took responsibility for myself to actually move forward to do what I needed to do all the studies, do everything like that. So if you want to do it, go to the Fruit of Knowledge. That's what the community is for. Find all the information, do your due diligence, read as much as you can, invite as much information. It doesn't matter if it's on one spectrum or the other, left or right, or find the information that actually makes sense and works for you.
That's interesting. I was going to say that, yeah, most people that I know of, either comes to things like psychedelics or even energy work, any of these different spectrums, there's always a fork and light socket moment. I always call that because it's like, or penny in the light socket moment, whereas you have to experience the thing in order to make course corrections, in order to actually come out of it on top like you did with psychedelics, and also coming out of the Marine Corps with the PTSD, any form of those types of things. Energy workers, I'm always, maybe I'm up their butt more than I should be, trying to get them straight and like channeling areas and stuff like that. But it's similar. Whereas, I see people get into the energy work area and then they go through holy hell, going through negative cycles and things like that. It's like, okay, what did you do in this area? Did you not take responsibility for discernment in this area, et cetera, et cetera? Did you not critically think through this at some point? And I say this to people in my sessions. I say this to people on shows all the time, and it's a very similar thread in that area. And I find this fascinating. How I know per this conversation you wanted to go into the whole DMT drip, and you actually said something to me that I had not considered when you said it at the conference. And I
Yes.
got validation to this. Whereas, I have this constant flow of going on and downloads and things of that nature. Of course, some friends of mine nicknamed me Rain Man for that reason, because I'm always seeing patterns. So it's like, it's somebody that's in that state seeing the same patterns, but they don't know how to control it. So I learned how to control it via both intuition and logic. That's critical thinking. I managed to control that environment. What you said was what I felt you were intuiting was you felt that I had a constant DMT drip after I had a near-death experience. So this is some people on our show don't know this part. When I was hurt back in 2009, I had a near-death experience. I did do channeling and stuff before then, but it was sporadic. It was not solid. It was like it was slightly erratic before then. I did mediumship works and stuff like that, but it wasn't the same. It was only isolated times. This, when I got hurt, I was clinically dead for 1 hour, and where even the fireman had the sheet over me, everything. I was in another realm with guides and other people on the other side for a 2 week period. Would be there roughly. I remember bits and pieces, but it added up to 2 week time frame, like how we would experience time in that way. I know it was different there, but how we would perceive it, it was 2 weeks. Came back, and it was an immense amount of pain, and all this from my accident. My finger was on backwards when I went to shake the fireman's hand, all this other stuff. And I was in the hospital a month, went through holy hell afterwards from multiple different reasons we don't need to go into. But after that, I noticed that certain abilities that I'd already possessed from the time I was a child kicked into high gear. Then you validated at that moment, or it's a synchronicity as far as I'm concerned, because spirit guides us to these synchronicities all the time, where it was a DMT drip that came from my pineal and went down into my body. But in mine, I always had that constantly on. You also specified everybody has a way to dial it back. And when you spoke that to me, it usually takes two or more people to validate a concept like that. I was literally able to find my dial after that and dial it back like turning a valve off and on. So I gained at least somewhat of a control over that portion of it because of that.
Yeah. Let's put it into perspective on my experience with psychedelics and DMT.
Okay.
I never did any kind of drugs until I was 33 years old, when I was basically at my wit's end. And I did all the research on the different psychedelics I wanted to do before I even tried anything for months and months. And basically, I finally decided, you know what? I am beyond repair. My life's basically going to be over here soon for the most part, either by myself or some stupid action that I do. So I'm like, all right, if that's the case, I want that one. I want the most powerful psychedelic known to man. And I went with DMT. And what I experienced was the most life-changing experience known to my own personal realm. And never got another experience like that again, where DMT use, when you're using smokable, injectable, which I don't suggest, I'm just giving you suggestions of or what are treatments out there. Clinics and everything are doing these kind of researches. And also ayahuasca, that's the main compound that's in there is ingestible DMT, that uses MEOIs. So that it is allowed to be ingestible. But the strongest version of that is smokable DMT. So that's what I started to do first. And it changed my life starting at that point. And that's where I started on this journey to learn and start going down the rabbit hole of why does this interact and what's the connections. So I read all these other researches, papers, and tried to go find what is going on. And then I come to find out that your body naturally makes DMT. They've finally figured out, I believe, 100% sure that it is produced in the brain and other organs like your lungs. Don't quote me on that, but that's what they actually say, is that it's also in your lungs for secretion, but also your pineal gland. And what a lot of the times that happens is that it will activate at near-death experiences, either to change your perspective, so it kind of saves your consciousness from the pain and trauma of that current experience. And also, one of my working theories, which is that your pineal gland, for a lot of these individuals who have their different insights or powers or all those, I have no personal experience with all those, so I can't actually say for sure. So it's just a working theory on what it does, is that your intuition, when you go through these experiences, it heightens the DMT release, or it allows you to it actually stops functioning correctly, where it's only supposed to be doing it when you're at near death or while you're sleeping, those kind of things. That's what probably helps increase levels of visions or dreams. Or when you're in deep meditation, you're able to focus your body even more in your oxygen levels, and it starts to secrete there, where you get that exponential out-of-body experiences from DMT. And what I believe is that a lot of people that go through these situations, their switch basically gets stuck halfway on. or slightly on, and they don't know what's happening to them, and they don't realize that, hey, I can turn it off or increase it up. And that's something I want to help people understand and treat, is you can probably do this more with the understanding, breath work, and also proper nutrition, working out, and getting help from outside sources and everything to train yourself to reorientate your body. Not 100% proven, but that is from my experiences with talking with multiple people, experiences myself, their experiences, just putting the pieces together. So it'd be cool to actually find out solid evidence on it here in the future. If we can get research or those kind of things done and be able to read the actual levels of DMT in people who are going through those like experiences at that time, if they're doing a session, to see if the DMT levels in your body are actually increasing or decreasing. I would love to find actual hard evidence and numbers on that. But yeah, that's kind of my theory for the most part, because
that's
I don't have
I feel
full
that that's true.
hard
My
evidence.
intuition says that that is absolutely true. The reason they're not allowing evidence is they don't want people to actually use the scientific method to find these things. A lot of the
And it's
people
also
block it.
extremely probably going to be expensive, because you got to go through blood work, different readers, all those kind of things. If we had a community who could help donate money to it, or we had some wealthy benefactors that wanted to pay for research into it, maybe that'd be something. But that's not somewhere we're fully at right now. Or maybe someone just hasn't suggested it to the point. So who knows? Maybe here in the future.
So one of the big issues here, again, when we talk about some of the issues, again, that you were experiencing personally that led you to this, and or so many other people out there that are having post-traumatic stress related illnesses and different things, is what I personally believe, it's what we talk about on the lifting, the concerted effort that comes about in many different ways to kind of separate you from yourself, to almost put you in a very numb, non-existent, can't feel myself, can't, do anything kind of situation. And as we talk about that, we say, you're really a much greater being than you can ever know. You can't stuff all of that into your personal skin suit that you're in right now, but you have a part of it. And so for me, who believes that everything is a spiritual journey, whether you're religious or not is irrelevant, but that what you're actually, talking about is taking it, being at a state where you feel just so disconnected, and not may or may not even realizing, feeling the biggest disconnection feeling is from your own self, or your perceived higher self, or your perceived. And in that state, the vulnerabilities that can happen with other types of, let's say, mental illness that can creep in, which unfortunately may not be aided, and it's not helping necessarily when you just throw medications at it, although sometimes medications are beneficial for a moment. But how do you then get that reconnection to be able to see life in a little bit better way and to feel certain connections? How do you do that, basically, in order? And this is what this conversation, in my opinion, is more about. Did we lose some?
I think we lost.
Oh no, I hear you.
You're here. You're froze on the screen.
You froze on the screen.
Oh,
So
really?
one of the interesting conversations that we were having, and why I was so supportive of this, is again that I think that we've always believed, when we were there with the lecture that we gave, with everything we did, we wanted to give people what we felt was a bigger picture understanding of everything. And, readily we say, with everything going on, splitting of the self is, a tactic that is being used in many different ways. Sometimes it happens naturally through just traumatic events, but all of that is helping. And unfortunately, right now, everyone should be able to look around and not feel very supported on trying to put that self, that whole back together, that you're not really seeing a lot of it. So, and again, I'm thrilled to hear what the VA and different ones are trying to do now to try and again, this isn't a religious binding. This is literally a recognition of trying to put someone back together, reground them, reconnect them. And what people may not realize, in my humble opinion, is the reconnection of them to their higher self, which then helps them reconnect with purpose, with understanding, with these different things that they became so far disconnected from. I mean, that's my opinion of the big picture of really what's going on. I don't know if you feel that in this process you were trying to reconnect in that way to yourself. I am curious what you think.
I didn't even know myself during those times. I had no clue who I was. We are more connected now as a society than ever before in history, but we are also the most disconnected in history. People are distracted left and right. Their phones, their computers, their job, their families, their everything else. I truly want to actually get people to understand that selfishness is actually healthy and it is needed. Most of the people, and let me put that in perspective, is everyone is their focus, their consciousness, their spirituality, their responsibility is everywhere else. They're like, oh, okay, I have to take care of my family. I have to take care of this. I have to be a part of my religion. I have to be a part of my job. I have to worry here. And there is no instance that they actually talk about, I need to be a part of myself for the most part. And I'm not talking for, say, hateful or negative versions of selfishness. Like, fuck them, it's all about me. No, it's like, without me, there is no them. If you realize that in your experience of our existence, your experience, because you're a sole individual, is more important than your experience as the rest of the community. Because without you, your understanding of the rest of existence does not actually happen. It's not actually there. So most of the people that are hurting are worried about what's happening over here, what's happening over there, or what happened in the past, instead of who am I personally right now to be loving selfish and concentrate on healing me. It's kind of like, imagine our solar system. If the sun all of a sudden disappeared, what would happen to every other circling ecosystem in our solar system? They would absolutely be non-existent anymore. They'd fly off in all different directions because the sun that is holding our entire space-time continuum here for our existence is gone. So, and in their reality, the other person, like for say my wife, her existence should be her first, because without her, basically I wouldn't have her anymore, or she wouldn't have me. And if you think on it in a positive way, I need to help and heal and control myself first, that then I can do the next round and help and heal my family, and then help and heal my friends, and then help and heal my community, and help and heal my state, and help and heal my country, help and heal my world. Most people don't think about that. They're like, their self thought process for them in a loving way is, let's go think about the country only. And maybe if I'm thinking about myself, it's because it's on a negative aspect instead of on a positive aspect, and healing myself so I can do better for everyone else. Instead of the negative aspect is like, oh, screw everyone else, it's only about me. Because there's two sides of a coin. Which side do you want to actually do to have the greatest benefit for yourself and for everyone else around you? Now,
I agree.
Right.
Yeah.
Most people also, their life experiences or the things that are going around, you can't get rid of all those because those are also sacred individuals. They're soul individuals and beings who are also the center of their universe. That's a lot of things that with people with trauma like myself is all I could think about or be attached to was enslaved to the experiences of the past so that I could not enjoy the present of who I am now and also focus on the future. I was only on the past, so I could never really truly evolve and heal. And most people that I talk with and everything, instead of understanding the past and learning from the past and using it as fuel and energy and changing my perspective on the negative portion to what can I do to understand it was a bad situation, or how do I change it into a positive understanding so that it doesn't control my life now? It enhances my power and my strength now so I can have a greater potential future. That's what people need to understand with those different kind of disconnects. And how do I want to state this is most people with their traumas need to understand that you have to let go of the victim mentality if you actually want to heal. You have to take full responsibility for everything that happened in the past. And let me really clarify on that. Everything in the past probably wasn't your responsibility. You had no control of it. It could have been rape. It could have been murder in the family. You could have been all these other things that you're not responsible for. Let me make that clear before I get like hate comments or anything. What you are responsible for is how you utilize that experience, that knowledge to strengthen yourself, learn, and make sure that it is utilized for the betterment in the future. That's what taking responsibility for it is what I mean. In no way was it your fault, or hopefully it was no way your fault. And that way you dechain yourself, you become free. You are no longer enslaved to that experience. And now it is utilized for your strength instead. And you don't need psychedelics for this.
No, and in fact, that's really what you just explained in a beautiful way is exactly what we say forgiveness is. Forgiveness is not about accepting that you accept that rape was okay, or you accept this, or that you even have to say, I'm going to be buddies with someone that did it. It's nothing to do with that. It's about the chains that bind. And if you have to find a way to be able to look at that experience, take from it what you need to move forward in that positive way. That is actually what forgiveness is all about. You're forgiving this event in a sense in order for you to move forward from it because you're the one bound to this. And so I agree
absolutely
completely.
have hate for that event. Hate
Yes.
is a positive feeling. Utilize it, but don't be enveloped by it.
Like consumed by it, exactly.
Yes. Fuck that event. That was horrible. That person is absolutely trash. But then if you stay that and you're like, oh, and then you get enveloped by that hate, that's still enslavement to that thing. It's like, seriously, fuck that person, fuck that, all that. But I'm going to make sure that, per se, I'm going to use it to make sure, calculate, okay, never put myself in that situation again, make sure I can help other people if I see it, that I can go ahead and bring it to light so that it's not happening to them or move forward. And those kind of things, those are different perspective changes so that you can actually move forward. And like I was saying, you don't need DMT, you don't need any psychedelics for this kind of thing to break those walls. But a lot of times, human nature doesn't allow you to break that experience because you're so ingrained of it was too traumatic. It was still in control of me, all this kind of stuff. And that's what psychedelics will help you do, is force you to see and experience sometimes those past experiences, to force you through it to come to the present. And a lot of the times, if you're going to use psychedelics, especially if you have those kind of traumas, they could be way too overwhelming. But that's where the proper treatment or the help and the guidance, because if you use psychedelics wrongly, you could actually have a mental psychedelic trauma from current state. So now you just compounded the experience if you use it wrong.
Exactly. And what you just said, you explained beautifully, that victimhood mentality that needs to be broken down. Not that
Free
anything,
yourself
but
from it,
you
right.
just explained it beautifully. That's what we're talking about. That mental going around in circles with it, victimhood mentality of your own mind, that needs to be broken down and released, basically, so that you can move forward. So I love it. And the other thing that I really loved about our conversations that we were having is just like what we talk about with our products. We hope 150 years from now, in some folk museum,
Right.
some of the things that we created to try and give a good environment for protection and everything, to provide more of a space to, learn and grow in. We hope to, maybe 150 years from now, it will show up in one of those museums, because everyone, humanity's moved forward. They're better with their intention and their spirituality, and those tools weren't needed anymore because they gave us the space to grow in, and now we don't need them 150 years from now. What I loved about our conversation was the fact that that's how you viewed these kinds of drugs. Not as necessarily the goal is to utilize them for a moment and then hopefully grow and not need some of it anymore.
That's kind of like what my protocol is the Morningstar protocol. It helps people understand how, if you have addictions or you have traumas, that this will help you move past this section where it's a full 15 course, and the full protocol as deeply as I can. It's going to be a living organism, and as science comes out and brings more information, we'll change it so it's more efficient at helping with treatment. It's called the Morningstar Protocol. If you want to find it, it's going to be on the Fruit of Knowledge. I'll also be posting it online. It's a decade of work and research on my own personal experiences, other people around me, and then the different sciences left and right. And it's a full holistic knowing that it's not psychedelics that are going to save you. It's you who are going to save you. There are no heroes. You are your own hero, and you are your own salvation. Take responsibility and the strength back so you can do it yourself. It basically goes with, if you want to use psychedelics, you use the psychedelic proper, you go through the research and the information of the chemical compound you're going to be using, search out for proper help in your local area or greater area, whichever is going to be more efficient, and make sure the individual is actually knowledgeable and trained in the experience. Don't find your best friend's cousin down the road who took 2 DMT trips and thinks now he's an expert. Before I started helping other individuals with DMT, even going outwards, I studied as many different ceremonies and indigenous cultures, Filipino shamans down in the Amazon, how they do it, what their view is and everything. It doesn't mean I have to believe their view. It means I have to understand the treatment process, what it's going to do in your body, what it's going to do to your spirit, your soul, your consciousness, what are going to be the endangerments. And probably one of the biggest stupid things I ever did was use myself because I thought it was, I didn't know any better, and I was pretty freaking dumb. Is, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to do this 100 times more than anyone else I treat, because, which had logic behind it, is I want to help treat you. I need to be able to know what you're most likely going to go through. And if you go through these negative experiences, how to help you go through that. And then what's all the knowledge that goes through it. So I pushed myself beyond the limits. Like DMT, I've probably had thousands of breakthroughs, and that's actual breakthroughs. There's different experiences, like you have your waiting room, you have your first gate, second level, third, fourth, fifth, per se, on the intensity and the in-depth and the realism of the experience. Those are different things that you will go through. And then what's the person's actual thought process like, all this. And I wanted to force the limits, and it probably wasn't very intelligent of me to do so.
Bulldozer technique. I've done the bulldozer technique in multiple respects. That's also nicknamed the fork and light socket technique. So it's like because that's where I was with some of the energy work. I've also known people on the other end that do, marijuana and CBD have a similar thing happen. If they have a trauma, it presents that first. And and they don't know how to regulate it on that end either. It seems to have more of a punch to the face, in my opinion, on that end. I used CBD for a while. I noticed my brain couldn't handle it after a while. It kind of put me in a weird in between state. And I know from some experience now, I can't prove this part, but I know when you enter a certain state, you're in between alpha and theta. You're somewhere closer to theta, somewhere in there. And then when you're in between sleep state, you're in that space too.
Right. Kind of like with different forms of psychedelics, it lowers different interactions with how your normal pre-programmed or current programmed functionality of how your brain operates. It decreases the brain function in that area and hyper increases the connections to other areas of the brain that your brain normally wouldn't talk to. So it has a lot of potential for healing and creating new neuron connections in the brain, and also helping with mind-body connections. So a lot of athletes are also utilizing psychedelics for these kind of purposes. So you get more in tune with yourself, especially if you're in sports, all those kind of things, and to where your body feels like it's actually working more efficiently. Now, if you're taking more psychedelics, you think you're like the Flash and you're going, but you're like, whoa, you're just doing stuff like that. So be cautious of how you're utilizing the psychedelics in those kind of things. Know that it's probably not happening how you're experiencing it. But if you use it in different versions of microdosing to macrodosing, and properly utilizing the psychedelics as medicine to heal instead of escapism to heal, which the difference is you're taking the information, you're studying, you're looking, you're at all your mannerisms without it, with it, what you are intending it for. You're go ahead and you're using a proper program instead of, oh, you know what, I'm going to go willy-nilly, I'm going to take the medicines. You're not taking responsibility for yourself to do due diligence in all those different aspects and moving forward. And like I was saying before, you don't need psychedelics, but it helps. But once you get to that certain level where you don't need it, because the ultimate goal is non-utilization of any compound. So that's what the Morningstar protocol is all about, is intense work throughout hopefully a month, 2 month, 3 month period, and then decreasing so that you can actually move forward with having a full, healthy, rounded life and integration with reuniting with yourself, so that you can move to the next level of being fully reunited with your family in those portions of understanding of, now I'm full holistic myself, I can be full holistic with my family, my friends, my community, those kind of things. So that afterwards, you don't need them. Like I used to take massive amounts of psychedelics continuously and had no healing properties because I wasn't using them right, until I actually started taking responsibility for myself and moving forward to doing it, and then tapering down, which when I mean tapering down, you're not trying to decrease the amount of psychedelics because your body's addicted. It's slowly getting your brain to enact on its own with the programming that you gave yourself.
Mhm.
You're training yourself in the way that you want. And that's what psychedelics are going to be doing, because it's allowing your brain function to flip and flop in the different directions. And if you guide them with a natural regimen, you will start to heal more efficiently.
Yeah, I completely agree. People are always, thinking that, they want a crutch in this area. They want something to do something for them. It was like that in the paranormal field as well. When I was in this, I noticed a similar
Hmm.
pattern where when I did paranormal research, there was the energy side and then there was the scientific side as well. And people would over abuse the devices, hoping that they would connect with their deceased loved one somewhere. They were missing the person, and it became an addictive, I'm using this constantly,
It becomes
and it's the same thing.
mental and emotional addiction instead of a body high addiction.
Yeah, and then it brought in other entities, brought in other things that could harm in that capacity, in an external capacity as well. And I noticed the same pattern in all of these different areas, came to the same conclusion. It's somebody looking for an external source to save them in some fashion or form, to get rid of a trauma or get rid of something they didn't want to deal with. And that is the worst place you can be. And I saw this match in almost all of these fields. It came to the same conclusion. And where people are waiting for Superman basically, and thinking they're powerless. There were shows out years ago. There was a documentary called Waiting for Superman, where people were doing things for themselves. There was a show called Powerless at one point, where they were trying to psychologically say people were powerless without the hero or superhero. Bad message right there. It
Yeah.
was, and I hated that. And they canceled the show after they tried to link it to Batman and Superman and whatnot. I hated the message because that got people to look up for their savior and not
Instead
look
of
in the mirror,
looking in.
instead of looking
Yeah,
in. Yeah.
most definitely.
So this
Kind of
reminds
like
me of,
what I
Hmm?
oh
kind
no,
of
I
like
was
what I
just going
did
to say, this
originally.
reminds me of an episode that we did, and I know it's going to sound, I'm gonna try and do this really, really quick to see that, so you can see the connection. Where we did an episode, we were trying to talk about the ego. So again, most people think, oh, you got a big ego, walking through the door, you think you're great or whatever. But what we were talking about again is when your spirit comes into your body and connects to the body, there's also the bodily function of having an ego. And an ego is going to be that self-protection mechanism that keeps you, hopefully, from thinking you can win that fight with the lion, right? Or that, you know what I mean, you won't jump off the highest place thinking, you can fly or you can survive it. That there is a mechanism in the body that is supposed to be their ego that basically keeps you in a safe mode. Now, what's been happening over the years, unfortunately, is it's been more of the ego being out of control, where fear and where paranoia and fear and all of this external stimulus, including things like post-traumatic stress or whatever, can actually tip the scales. And especially if you feel disconnected in your spiritual side, where the ego now is running the show. And so, you're having this horrific disconnect, and basically you're in fight or flight all the time, or can be put there just like that, where you're in states of paranoia looking for the next thing to harm you, because that's an ego out of control, from how we try to explain it. And part of the goal when you're having this human experience is that connect, is how does your spiritual side now, which is supposed to be keeping everything in check and keeping everything and calming ego when it's getting out of control. So part of this experience, in my view, is about if people need it, is about basically putting those types of things also back in balance, so that it's not the ego running the show. When you said about the sports people, that's when it clicked in my mind, that because again, here you now have people involved in sports who want to be able to bring in the spiritual side to really be able to, in a state, more be in charge of the bodily functions, be it running or being whatever, and pushing that limit of the body and having the ego a little bit more in check, to find that proper balance where the
What's the Trinity?
spirituality
Mind,
is
body,
going
soul.
there.
If any of those are out of check,
Right.
you're in a state of chaos. So that's
Exactly.
why you're trying. It's kind of like the whole trauma portion that is going on with uh, people nowadays, no matter what, if it the trauma in the past, trauma currently, your self ego out of whack, your body's in pain. The gateway drug is not other drugs, it's pain. It's mental pain, it's emotional pain, and it is spiritual pain. People are trying to do crazier, stupider things out there physically because it helps disconnect them from the pain that they're suffering somewhere in their body, their mind, their soul. Or they're taking drugs and other chemical compounds, no matter if it's psychedelics or if it's cocaine, meth, or pharmaceuticals, to disconnect from some sort of pain instead of actually figuring out how to properly fix or heal or strengthen from those different areas of the pain and utilizing it instead. The pain that we are individually suffering from, and then outwards, it radiates like the sun. As light flies out from the sun, the heat, the radiation, all that kind of stuff, it affects how it happens. If the sun's in its normal flux and it's going properly, we get great weather, we get all this. But if you get a solar flare because you're overwhelmed or something like that, we could get knocked out like what was it, 19 somethings or 1800, where it knocked out all the power lines just because of the sun could have destroyed its next level of connection with how it's going, which is our family or friends or anything like that. If we're not taking control and healing ourselves, we are utilizing the pain to find something else to disconnect from, disassociate, and move forward. And so that's the portion where I believe psychedelics could be a negative, and that's what I did myself, is I found so much beauty in just using psychedelics continuously and not allowing my brain or my soul to actually integrate the experience. So if you're using psychedelics just to get disassociated from present reality or how you're feeling, instead of actually working on how you're feeling, you're just like, I don't even want to deal with it. Let's go over here and take a bunch of psychedelics or anything. That's the wrong way to do it. That's full on disassociation from what you experience, what the pain is, and everything. So you're not dealing with anything. You're not healing, and you're just using anything to numb the pain, to not know the pain's there or anything like that. Because if you're using psychedelics, you're using it to you just want to go party with it. And don't get me wrong, psychedelics are freaking amazing for enhancing the beauty of existence. You're connecting with nature, just connecting with other individuals, enhancing music or a show or a movie. It enhances it exponentially, and you get almost this otherworldly effect where you're sometimes in the movie or the music is radiating through every cell of your body. But if you're using it on one aspect, hey, I want to just experience that because my main base reality is hell and I don't want to do it, that's wrong. But if you're using it and you're healing, and then you also use the psychedelics every now and then to experience a heightened level of those kind of things, it's like, hey, why not take psychedelics and watch a movie? Because it makes it like, oh, wow, it's such a different kind of experience. Hey, that's cool. But if you're doing it continuously nonstop, like I used to, yeah, fucking that's something where you're not associating with yourself or your environment or everything like that and actually dealing with pain. The pain will never actually go away until you actually face it.
Yeah, that's how people get also addicted to alcohol or other drugs or anything like
Exactly.
that, or EVP addiction, like with the paranormal field. Like I said before, that's an actual classified label they've put on that aspect of the paranormal field too. People that do this kind of research, so they've linked it to that same area of the brain that deals with trauma, pain, and addiction as well. So that some people that have gotten into the sciences of this. So Joanna, I think this is actually a perfect portion
Yeah,
to
that's
go
what I
into
was
the
thinking too. Let's do that.
into if you don't mind, Clint, unless you want to add something else, we can go into the channel portion of this.
Tell the just want to tell everyone out there who's going to watch this and everything, you can heal, and the pain that you suffered is not you. It was an experience. And do know this, it did happen, but it's not happening now. It's not real anymore. It's a thought. It only exists in your mind, your body, and your soul now. You have 100% the ability and the control to dominate anything in your thought process in your mind. It might take a lot more help and a lot more of this, but it does not control you anymore. Find the help you need. If it's psychedelics, find proper treatment. If it's medical mainstream, find it there, or use a combination of the both. You're not a victim. You are powerful, and we'll try to do everything we can to help and support you.
I agree. People remain in that space, and basically, using it for the wrong reasons to cover up trauma, and that's not a good place to be. Yeah, I'm starting to get this. When I get this wobbly type feeling, that usually means I got to go into the channel portion. That's why I was pushing it along a little bit. It's a sense of urgency when it pops up like that. It's more of an intuitive sense of urgency. So. Actually, let's see who is going to actually do the talking today. Uh, mhm. Of course you would be, Isaac. Okay. So when we were at the conference, when I brought the communication art edifice with me, that's the being that usually uses that to speak to me on a telepathic level is who is doing the channel today. So I figured it would be him. He does the majority of them anyway. So. Um, some people say he's like my guide, but these are physical beings that exist. Some are physical anyway. At least with him, it is in a different frequency wavelength. It was like that with the forest. Some of the forest people, like I showed that picture of Fuma at the event and everything. It's like that. So where they're just in a different space in between spaces, essentially. So they could be walking right next to you, and you wouldn't really know it. No, so let's see here. Yes, I know you'll keep it quick. All right, let's see. All right. See, I have the ability to go in and out of the state quickly. That's why people have accused me of being a fraud sometimes, because I do it fast. So it's like no, people have people have to go into the trance slowly. It's like, no, that's you. That's not me. I do it fast. I'm able to do it quickly. So okay, Isaac, do that crystal if you would, please. Yes, this is a very interesting conversation. You could say this is spirit inspired, but he also calls it synchronistic. Coming together with people, or synchronistic communications, or unity in that particular way, where things just flow and work out, and you're in the places that you need to be at the time you need to. In this conversation, he was meant to hear this conversation and run into you guys at the conference. This is actually very interesting because of the fact not only did you go from a warrior background to this background that you currently are in, he has a very similar thing, but within his genetics, genetic history, SSP, any of those types of traumatic areas. What you said about, yes, it happened, but it is now a thought. And a thought keeps it within your present moment, blocking also any positive present moment that could be there for you. It's all coexisting at once, for sure. All time does this, but at the same time, no pun intended, in this, No confusion intended. Whereas that thought, even if something is trying to psionically abuse that thought, the reason they can do this is because you have not let go of that thought. You have not put it in the time frame in which it needs to reside. You have not dealt with this and not integrated what you need to integrate. As horrible as something is, yes, like you said, hate in that area is powerful. You would be weird, or in not a necessarily good way, if you did not remain in touch with that raw emotion. The New Age community or New Agers like to say, separate from this. That's the worst thing you can do, because it is a form of keeping that wheel turning, you see, and not dealing with things as they come around. And people then blame this on a karmic event, when in fact they are the ones subconsciously creating this orbiting moon or cycle. There is overage out there of energies that can do these things, of course. There's negativity, of course, that's external. But at the same time, these sources see more of a means to manipulate. If you remain in that cycle, you're not doing your due diligence, or as he says, not conducting your own audit of self. So this is a wonderful communication. I and who I deal with in this benevolence do support this conversation, because the DMT, this was true. He was meant to hear this to be able. He's never been able to completely dial this back since the accident, and others have also spoken to him about the same, and they have then come into a quandary as to how to resolve this. So therefore, also, there are soul histories there between all of you here and myself. I will not go into that unless that's permitted, but at the same time, this conversation was warranted. I wasn't going to rattle on for a while if you two have any questions for myself.
Not at all, actually. Well,
So I do. So what I want to know, Isaac, is that, we've been talking about it, with who do you feel would be a type of person that probably should give Clint's work a look? I mean, who do you feel is a good one? There are people that come to my mind, and I'll bring out a few. I think one of the big issues that's coming now with people that were around are people that believe they had SSP experiences.
Mhm.
I don't know what you think about them, because to me that's a complicated topic.
Good.
But what do you think about the types of people that maybe want to give this a look?
Ironically, those are the last people
That's what I
that
was
should actually use psychedelics, because it will always again cycle back around to that point in time. Now, once they have come to terms with this, and you've seen others around you, even at the convention, that have brought up this pain. Yes, are they doing this to inform out of a place of benevolence? Absolutely, and it's fully supported. But once that has been accomplished, getting to that next stage of that retrospection, that inner work, shadow work, is absolutely vital before you've hit the psychedelic level. Once you've hit at least most of that balance, you can take it the rest of the way, heal, and you are able to balance. Now, like you said, Clint, it's not for everyone. And some people, it's just not their thing. And that is fully supported. But the last people that should do it is if somebody that literally has become that ball of that trauma. Now, the same goes for any of the other drugs or any other paranormal uses of what was mentioned. Now, the people that should, and I shouldn't say should, that is a wrong choice of words. It is more applicable for them to use it. It is more compatible. Is those that have, yes, there is some trauma there, but then that trauma can then spread and make a pendulum swing. When you have gotten to that stable place on your own, and you are wanting to balance your energy, balance your life, balance the any of the aspects of life, not the traumatic ones, not trying to escape. Escapism is wrong. Most, and I will say, and this is not to be insulting to those SSP people out there, most of the SSP people that are currently in existence are trapped in escapism. Escapism is the worst place you can be. So the opposite of that, like what you were saying, Clint. So this is where I'm at. Most of what I would have said has already been said. And so that and the alpha theta wavelength, look what he was saying. There have been scientific studies in that area, whereas people channel or people do psychic activity. The same goes with the psychedelics, but you're right. The resources for the regular people have not been there. They have been withheld. But I will say this is opening up. I can honestly say this area of study is opening up. There are people out there that are currently conducting it, but it is in secret. It is closeted at the moment. They are attempting to better that community by working either in a secret project or by themselves studying this to the point of critically thinking their way through this. But you have a society that's either divided in the energy worker or the skeptic side. You must marry the intuitive and the logical together to be able to bring this out. Scientific method is paramount in bringing this out to the masses. And he would think it's just the energy side. It is actually proof of concept. This is he may be shocked by me saying this, but the proof of concept is where this is actually warranted. So if there is no further, I can detach at this time.
Yeah, thank you.
One last thing. Don't just look at the protocol and do it. Read the entire protocol and then go do some more research. It's not the be all to end all. It's just a starting point. It's just a guide. Make your own decision. Do your own research.
Yes.
Take responsibility for your life and your existence.
Yes, I couldn't have said this better. You see, also those that depend on us who completely are not in the right place either. They have to be taking responsibility for self as well. So I will detach. Thank you as well. All right. The reason I keep the eyes shut during that time, people have asked me about this, is because the visuals provide too many distractions and the brain opens up more and there's too much input. So that's the reason I do that.
Same thing when I do my vision journeys.
Yeah, any
Eyes
channeler
open,
does that.
You enjoy the existence of the now. Eyes closed, you enjoy the existence of the teleportation within.
Exactly. I couldn't have worded that better. That's actually, I like that phrase. Actually, that's awesome. We really thoroughly enjoyed having you on today. This was absolutely fantastic.
I had a fucking blast. I've missed you guys since the conference and everything.
Yeah.
I still remember the night that after we had dinner, we went out to the beach and just talked in the waves, just standing there for it was like an hour. We were just there. It was surreal. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I personally needed that too. Where to reground and having that flow and camaraderie was what was needed. And I absolutely loved that. And we loved meeting you guys. We've missed you guys since we've left there. So to our viewers watching this was an absolute awesome experience with him and his wife, April, at the 2024 Disclosure Now conference there at the Serata. It was awesome. So unless you have anything further, Clint, we can close the circle for this.
Well, like you and I did. Again, we don't come from the same backgrounds or the forms of treatment. You guys have never done psychedelics, and I have experienced all those different kind of things. I've never experienced those different kind of like energy work or stuff like channeling like you do. But even though we didn't have the same viewpoints on those different aspects, we've built a foundation on what we could agree on, the positive foundation. And then we discussed the different aspects of what we don't agree on. First, build on positive foundation. Find what you agree on, people, and then move forward. Stop only viewing what's negative against each other. If you only view on the things that divide us, you'll never see what could possibly connect us and unite us.
Yeah, I love that. It's normally I'm a bulldozer, but I've been put into the role of bridge builder at this particular point. Also agreeing to disagree, is also another way to bring this about. I couldn't have said that better better myself, Clint. So at this point, we can take the show out. If you have anything else to add, Joy?
Yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed it. I hope that you go and visit his site. I definitely think it's worth a look at. And again, it may change your current thought process on what we're talking about with the use of these drugs for healing purposes. So again, please go check out Clint's site, and you may know someone who may have value of it. And again, it's all about that inner work. You can't escape it. You're going to have to do this for yourself. So with that, great blessings to everyone out there.
And
likewise. And the site is not just about psychedelics. There's other forms of healing, like massage therapy or physical therapy or energy work. It's all forms of healing and everything. So you can visit the site at www.thefruitofknowledge.com. And it is a subscription-based site because we help build up the community, and we're going to be helping all of our partners, as well as donating to nonprofits, foundations, research centers, and everything for mental health, psychedelic treatment, and just different forms of traumas that we feel that the community chooses to actually engage with, and we'll donate money for there. So if you're interested in joining the community, please use the discount code thelifting, and that will help give Chris and this lovely channel actually more funding, because we'll share funding with them. You will get a 10% discount, and we'll set aside 10% to go to divvy out to 3 to 5 different nonprofits or different organizations and foundations are going to be helping in those sectors. So your money would not just be coming to us, it's going to be going out to the community for healing and better work. And connect. If you have any kind of information, share it. Join your community. Let's build, let's grow, let's actually create together.
Yes, and I want to thank you, Clint, for taking the time to actually make that code for the site. That's awesome. Everybody, I'm putting the links below in the description so you can go straight to his site. And this is where I will take it out. I now am closing the circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. We want to thank Clinton for being on here. I want to thank everybody for watching. So bye-bye now. Thank you.
Thank you all.